We all know that the Civil Rights Movement made a huge impact on U.S. history, but lying in the shadows of the Civil Rights Movement is an organization that is not very widely known. In those shadows lurks a group called the American Jewish Congress, or AJC. Let's give the AJC the acknowledgement that they should deserve. The year is 1963, and segregation is still a huge problem in the United States. African Americans are described as inferior, hopeless, and dirty. Civil rights activists such as Martin Luther King Jr. are working endlessly, trying to put an end to racial discrimination. Amidst this segregation, the American Jewish Congress, or AJC, was founded. Rabbi Stephen S. Wise, Felix Frankfurter, and U.S. Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis, and other people, came to lay down the foundations of AJC. They worked towards equal rights for all Americans regardless of their race and skin color. The AJC and the Civil Rights Movement had similar goals, so Martin Luther King Jr. came to an AJC convention and spoke to the AJC in request for aid with the Civil Rights Movement. King asked them to help assist in the development of platforms from which white moderates, liberals, and others may speak and act towards effective ends, which basically means that he wanted the AJC to help him work towards equal rights for African Americans. So the AJC helped the NAACP by helping draft legal briefs and civil rights legislation. AJC also helped other groups by actively promoting them. Because the AJC actively promoted the civil rights movement, they were able to get their Jewish community to raise money for the civil rights movement. At least 2/3 of the money raised came from Jews, and a considerable percentage of those people were involved in the AJC. With the AJC aiding the NAACP and other civil rights movement groups, the civil rights movement was able to be carried through with more fluency. If the AJC hadn't been founded, the world would definitely be a different place. African Americans could have never gained their equal rights, and the thousands of Jews that the AJC rescued during World War II would most likely be dead in a concentration camp. Every event in history is massively important. The disappearance of even what seems like a tiny action will cause a ripple that will disturb the other waters nearby, disheveling the history of our world. I believe that the disappearance of the AJC will cause the biggest ripple in the civil rights movement. Without the AJC aiding the civil rights movement, it would have been a possibility that African Americans would have never gained their equal rights. And with a rapidly growing technology, African Americans would have missed many job opportunities if they hadn't gained their equal rights. Today in society, countless African Americans hold important positions, and without them, the world simply would not work. Everywhere around the world, secretaries, economists, senates, presidents are needed to run the economy. And if the AJC wasn't formed, and these African Americans were not taking these occupations, the world just would not run.